Gachami. Keep that image in your mind. Last time. Buddham Saranam Gachami. Dhammam Saranam Gachami. Sangam Saranam Gachami. One last deep belly breath and release. Happy new moon, everyone. Happy Friday.
Shall I begin?
Eric, you're missing some hair.
Can everyone hear me?
Lucian, are you okay? There, now it's on Facebook.
Just put it live. So anyone, I just tried to tag. If I tag too many people, it stops me being able to go live. So, but anyone that would like to create a watch party, feel free. I just pressed go, so it's on my Facebook. I tagged, I think 12 of us. Thank you so much, Serena.
My pleasure.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so do you guys actually want to, okay, so we have 8 minutes still, Lucian? Can we do a journey for 8 minutes? Yes. Oh, I can't hear you now, Lucian.
Yeah, 8 minutes. 8 minutes is perfect.
Okay, great. So it's pretty early in the day, or it's still early in the day, so I feel like how we can listen to the sounds today as a container could be something that my partner Jonathan and I have talked a lot about recently. A lot is this the concept of meta awareness, the awareness of your own experience. And so for the beginning 2 minutes of the song, or however long sort of feels like the beginning, just what I'll be doing, and you're welcome to join me, is just going purely into the feeling. What am I feeling in my body? My awareness of my physical body, my physical experience, and then I'll sort of move through emotions. Like, what are the emotions that I'm feeling? What is actually sort of in my shape of awareness, which sort of fills up my body space? What are the emotions that I'm feeling? Just feeling it, not necessarily having to describe it in my head, and just being aware of the inner voice that might be continuing, or mind wandering, or sort of observing and witnessing. And then to fill up the space around me. So as I hear the bird sounds and the whales sort of circling around my head, just imagining that my shape of awareness is also expanding outward, and doing that infinitely in every direction, just to sort of feel the expansion of self. And so I will start now, and taking deep breaths. And every time I breathe in, I'm sort of expanding. And then every time I exhale, I'm really feeling into my experience. Okay, so you guys down, or are there any questions? All right, here we go. And everyone's mics are muted. Awesome. Can you all hear bubbles? Close your eyes.
Thank you, Amanda. Spectacular.
So beautiful. Thank you. Please, yeah, Lucinda, we'd love to introduce, welcome Eric. Welcome, I will welcome Soma with us. Welcome Steve.
Someone's here.
Vaughn, you've been part of this. Lucinda, maybe if you could start.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm just going to take the echo off. Hold on. Can you hear a reverb on my voice, just out of interest?
No reverb, but we can hear you.
Okay, great. I wanted to invite, if you remember the other day, I mentioned my friend Steve, who has gladly made it to today's up game. Steve is a friend of mine. Steve, you should introduce yourself, but I just wanted to welcome him to the crowd. Steve has years of experience in audio, branding, composing. He's worked a lot with food design, with audio. He's also the Sonic Strategy Director for Pandora. And I think probably, Steve, it's better if you introduce yourself, but I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here to join the group, find out a little bit more about what you're doing. I don't need to take a lot of time with introduction. You can reach out to me personally if you'd ever like to have more of a chat. But I have three passions in my life. One is music, and it's been a part of my life since I was a kid. The other is psychology. That's what my training is in. And then the third actually is marketing and advertising. So I play in all of those worlds, and I'm particularly drawn to the science of psychophysics and gastrophysics, working a lot with different universities and researchers and academics, and hence a very large bookcase behind me. So thank you for allowing me to drop in, and I'm looking forward to participating and being more of the group. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your being here. And I'd love to introduce a very dear friend. Soma is with us, who is, even trying to introduce Soma is, she is a mystic, a deep student of sound over lifetimes, and someone was a great teacher in my life. And maybe Soma, if you could just introduce yourself briefly, that would be delightful.
Do I have a voice? Yeah.
You need to turn up your microphone.
I was on the mute. I just tried to turn it on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, but you're still quite quiet.
I hear you well.
I can hear her fine.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hello, Soma. I can say shortly how sound inspired me since I was a little girl. And still to this day, sound, it's been a very important tool for me in mysticism, also in working with my state of mind and changing my state of being through sound and voicing. So I'm really excited to figure out about the game. Lucian's been telling me a lot, and I've been seeing some videos, and it's very inspiring, and I'm excited to be a part of it and see what you guys are creating. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Soma. Welcome. Have we got any other guests? I mean, we're here from the beginning of the game, so but maybe you could just say a quick hello. Delighted to have you here.
Yeah. Hi, happy to be here.
I'm Vaughn. I've been on a mission of working with different eco communities and creating healing centers. I'm from New York City and connected to the New York Open Center, which is one of the older healing centers in New York. And I've always been very passionate about sound. I'm a singer and use a lot of sound frequencies in my own personal healing and the work with others. And I'm just excited to see where different healing modalities and technologies can fuse together and share these frequencies as well as the knowledge of what sound can do, you know, creating different ways of recording music based on sacred geometry and the mathematics around it and the color frequencies and how it connects to all our different energy systems. So I'm interested in things like that, how we can create our align frequencies with the sacred geometrical structure of the human body and how to create harmony between the two. So really grateful to be here. Thank you.
Delighted to have you, Vaughn. And then we have Eric. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name's Eric Oberthaler, but most people call me EO. I'm a friend of Amanda Gregory's. We've been collaborators for past few years. I'm a producer, composer, performer that has been working in interactive, transformative ritual performance for the past few decades. And most recently, that's taken the form of discovering a modular system and a way of understanding the way transformative experiences are integrated to facilitate larger scale collaborations. So this is a very exciting opportunity to meet a new community and to discover what's going on and to see what ways I can be in support.
Delighted to have you here, EO. I've heard your name numerous times and you've been coming up in this in our conversations. So big welcome to you.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting in person. And welcome, David. The Grand Wizard's here. Thank you so much, David, for being here. Well, what we wanted to do, so we've had a beautiful week. Just to do some summary, we started the week with food for health at 11 a.m. every day. And we brought together people representing literally tens of thousands of acres of regenerative farmland. People do kind of all aspects of systems change. And we're currently where we were 2 weeks ago, where we're synthesizing the 8 uploads, which have broken into food justice, food waste, food education, food culture, food technology, land, food and land, food and land stewardship, regenerative communities. What else have we got? Food reverence, and each one of those is now coming into fundable solutions, which are going to kick off in 2 weeks' time when sound goes into the from sprout into blossom stage. Food will be going from seed into sprout stage. So it's been a great week there, and what I'd say is we have had this week we have had just such a phenomenal journey with the incredible sound practitioners that came together and kind of heard the call to participate in this experiment in creating value for the planetary commons, shining light on community solutions for the planetary commons. And that has broken really elegantly into three tracks that have been meeting every day for an hour, sometimes more. And we've been learning so much from each of these 3 groups. And firstly, it's the Unified Planet Sound Alliance, and Andrea is going to lead us through that now, what's been happening there. And I just wanted to say a big thank you for everyone that participated: Connie, Amanda, Lucinda, Danielle, Mark, Paul, and Shane for joining that alliance. And to be honest, everybody that participated in the seed stage has participated in this alliance. It's really a kind of amalgamation of a lot of the collective intelligence that was created at the seed stage. So thank you for that. And I'll go into more thank yous as we go into the two guilds that was sherped by Shane, the Sound Technology Guild, that Shane is going to be doing a presentation, as will Amanda. And welcome, Jonathan, great to see you there. Then we're going to finish up, we're going to wrap up the day with a presentation from the Sound Portal Guild, which has been sherped brilliantly by Serena and Emil. So I'm delighted to be at this stage and on this 8-week journey to you know, I'm pretty sure we're going to make history together. It kind of every morning I wake up in awe of what's unfolding and the kind of gravitational pull that the unified planet has of its own, that we're just showing up in service to. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to hand over to you, Andrea.
Morning. I thought I was going second, so this is going to be fun. So I'm going to start sharing my screen for the Sound Alliance. Hold on. Let's see. And I've never done this before. Okay, can everyone see that? And can everyone hear me? Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay, just want to see. All right, this is what happens when you go first. So I'm representing for Sound Alliance, and we have been working for the last couple weeks. On the next slide, we'll have all the members that were included in it. And the reason why we've come together is to be a bridge and to align with also other institutes and organizations that are in the sound healing world right now, and to bring more of a community alliance aspect. One of the bigger things that came out of the meetings that we had over the last week was our 2-word memes of like sound connects, which it does, sound transforms, sound shifts, and sound echoes. It's one of those, and sound is very transparent. Like you can hear it, you can just know to your heart what it's doing for you. And what I'm finding, or what we found over this time, and the founding team players, first of all, Savannah House, Lucian, Joshua, and Brian. The sound players, myself, Leo Raderman, Shane, Lucinda, Amanda, Danielle, Connie, and Paul. And we know that this is an evolving project, and many people are going to be served by this project in order to get it into more healthcare and be used more for mental health going forward. So thank you to all the founding members for Sound for Health. So alliance awareness. We bring together alliances to empower those that have been harkened by conflict, isolation, and separation. We see this right now with coronavirus more than ever than we have over the last 10 years. We infuse sound, light, empowerment, and collaboration into these spaces and our humanity. We bring resonance to where there has been dissonance. We design the greater solutions for the planetary commons. We create communities that come from the global intersection of societies, cultures, religions, ethnicities, and environments. And this is my first time doing a pitch deck or presentation like this, so. So our whole goal is to enhance the sound evolution, to be in collaboration with other institutes and schools and communities, being a bridge for the technology and sound portal guilds, to close the gap of sound for health being utilized, to bring people back into resonance of mind, body, and spirit, and pave the way for sound healing to be integrated into all places of care. My background is more in healthcare. So when I got brought into the Sound for Health, it was to create more inroads into the healthcare space. So after a couple weeks of together, our sound solutions that we found for the current marketplace is to have a shared language, because most people don't understand exactly what sound healing is. So using sound therapist, sound facilitator, sound artistry, giving definitions of what that is for the main public, using a vernacular that many industries can utilize and understand. So simplifying in areas where people think it's very esoteric or woo in standards, but it's actually quite logical and quite scientific and mathematic. To set standards for open-minded standards of care, including sound, so it'd be seen as another modality that can be included in care. We work to create and show compelling delivery tools about the transformative power of sound, utilizing support in science-backed research and collaborations between sound practitioners, sound therapists, and sound artists. Also, in order to inform how sound heals in many areas of life, how to educate how sound transforms, define how sound can be used as a replacement and complementary care model, how it can actually get a code, which I would be working on for healthcare in order to get it integrated so sound practitioners could get reimbursed. So the deliverable artifacts would be a common language matrix, science for sound matrix, translating the sound healing from woo to true, creating sound bites for media that are more provocative and informative in order to open their mind and have them ask new questions about what exactly is sound, what does that do for me, how does this make me more healthy, how do I become more calm. There's a lot of scientific studies that go into that. This is also to create.
Yeah.
This is also to create signals that open the mind and heart and how sound can help heal. Heal actually means to have sound health. So all the healing that we've been hearing about since we were little children is that actually it always included sound. And to create sound waves to transcend and transmute stress and dis-ease, which is where we've become more scattered, we can become more centered over time. One of the major aspects that came out the last couple of days was Project Echo, which is creating empowering narratives around sound, utilizing comic book archetypal characters, AKA sound superheroes, and bringing ancient future sounds to disperse the present noise in our reality. And we do know that we have a lot of noises that we deal with on an everyday basis that are more adverse to our nervous system, especially in hospital spaces and surgical centers with all the different beds and different devices that are being utilized, which put us out of our resonance and into more dissonance. The main business model behind, and I know this is being used in technology and also in portals for what the Unified Planet was putting together, is to inform and educate the public, align with leaders of sound, because we're not the first ones in this field, there are a lot of luminaries, evolving alliances, partners, and funding, discounts on products and insurance, having business and education masterclasses, creating positive and informative narratives by media and affiliations. This would be utilized in sound service and care-centric centers, which would be healthcare and wellness and mental, emotional health communities, concerts and spectacles, social settings, both indoor and outdoor, which technology would be going more into, and underfunded and out-of-tune spaces, schools, military and VA, recovery, and in-home care and nursing markets. So also to look at the Science of Sound Matrix, we're sending out an SOS to the Universal Planetary Commons. So it's sending out a message of there's other options than what we currently use in our marketplace, being pills or surgery or other ways of calming down. Sound can actually be the equalizer and the unifier that we've always been looking for. And many of us already know this. Sound has been an option since the beginning of time. It actually started our world. Sound can stabilize humanity in the wake and aftermath of Corona. Corona is a very dissonant, fear-based structure included in the virus. So this is to help move forward. Sound can be very transparent and true at the same time, but we also know that sound can be used more from a manipulation standpoint as well. So staying within the good resonance going forward. So there's 6 areas of the Science of Sound matrix: the physical, emotional, psychological, social, environmental, and universal. Universal is dealing more with the spiritual components. Under the Science of Sound matrix, we'd be looking at the benefits of utilizing sound for a particular point of interest, and all the ones that I listed before, utilizing from dissonance to resonance, how sound calms down stress levels, how sound changes the game on care, and utilizing supporting science-based research studies. This can become either from a flat version, from a computer, cards that could be given out, stickers that could be given out, or also gamified. The last portion is Project Echo, which is where we're looking at creating double mounting memes and marketing that are impacting all ages, getting kids involved and bringing out our inner nature, creating an empowering narrative around sound, utilizing comic book archetypal characters, AKA sound heroes. It's global in its application, and it also brings in ancient future sounds to disperse the present noise that we have in our current narrative. It's a collaborative echoes of messaging from other upgame players and Unified Planet Sound Alliance between Unified Planet guilds, which would be technology and portals as well. And that is the presentation showing that what we have completed over the last couple weeks. And I thank you for the portals and all that's been created, and technology and alliance and all future collaborations. So to sound health and resonance.
Andrea, you nailed it. You nailed
Woo!
it. Yeah.
Woo!
Just wow, and thank you for pulling
wow.
that together in that way. Incredible.
Such a rock star, Andrea. Thank you. Gold stars for you. That's amazing. And I mean, just witnessing the emergence here of the structure of the Unified Planet being almost like this rehiving, where each, we're going to bring 26 subjects a year, every 2 weeks, bring a new topic in. And each one of them form an alliance, and those alliances form alliances with each other. So the Sound Alliance and the Food Alliance are already having babies. And then, the Community Alliance is coming online in what, 3 weeks now. And so like just seeing this emergence, and, in particular, like the call yesterday, I've been dreaming about what is the modern, what is the kind of ancient future comic book to create myth out of these transition times, that we're at this pivot point, and there's so much kind of archetypal juice that can come from creating a comic book. And we were talking yesterday about the storytelling of Batman and Gotham City, and putting the bat signal out, and bat being that's where Project Echo came from. And this notion that the Unified Planet could actually be in part of the game could be this immersive comic book where people step into their superhero characters, and they embody, we introduce characters like Sonic and Echo and Sonar and others, like characters that are like androgynous as well. Speaking of the role that Venus is playing in our lives at the moment. But this is just feels to me like all of my spidey senses of remembering the future are going ding, ding, ding here, and I just have such gratitude to you in particular, Andrea, for how you've showed up and led here in just such a collaborative, cooperative way. It's just the exact energy that that will birth the Planetary Commons in a way that will last for generations to come. So thank you so much for that. This is the first time that all of us have seen that presentation. So
I just did that this morning. I've never done a pitch deck.
nailed it. So thank you.
Well, like a presentation like that, but it's like I do a lot of writing and comic book stuff on the side. So as soon as that came up, I was like, oh, this is more in resonance with everything that we're looking to create. And the thing is, it's a collaboration on so many different levels of everyone that came to the calls and everyone that was involved and is involved and will be involved going forward. So it's just getting to know everyone from every walk of life and every sound exposure and what everyone's gifts are has been amazing. So I'm very grateful for that and the experience and seeing what everyone else has, because that presentation would have been done if it had not been for the other members and for bringing this into play.
It's a beautiful example of collective intelligence applied, you know, so self-organizing collective intelligence is the future. So it's great to have a playground to
It's the present.
Yeah, it's the
That's what
present.
we see.
It's the present, exactly. Yeah, well said, Brian. Anyone else from the Alliance that would like to share something? And what I think we'll do, just because it's 11:46, go on to the Technology Guild next, and then so Shane and Amanda, and then Serena and Emil, and then make sure we have just sufficient time for questions on all of the presentations. I just want to make sure everybody gets sufficient time to present. But anyone else from the Alliance that wants to share their experience of being part of this birthing, this collective doularing?
I think Andrea nailed it.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
I wrote that as you said that.
There you go. It's funny what happens when we get into resonance. Telepathy might be the next guild. Well, so thank you, Paul. Thank you so much, Andrea. Do you want to, Shane, do you want to go next to the Technology Guild and Sound Helix?
Sure. I guess I'll give a little bit of a preface before I share my screen, just so for those of you who I haven't met physically in this world yet. You know, Lucian invited me in on this. I'm going to try to make this fast and just give you a bit of a rundown of my previous experience. So pretty much I've been doing sound healing for the past 10 years. The original reason why I got into it was not to share it with the world. It was really much more for just my own self-healing and really moving through a lot of emotional and mental stress and a lot of dissonance in my life and having mental and emotional disease. I was able to shift and move through it. And then I pretty much kind of moved through a fury of bringing it out into the public as much as possible because of how much it benefited me. And then I got involved in festivals and coordinating healing sanctuaries, performance art, you know, taking care of sound temples. And I pretty much have been doing that since probably about 2014 or so. And then, and probably over the past couple of years, I've been coming more into a stronger resonance of creating actual, like, more business-minded approaches to being able to bring sound to the masses and to do it in such a lucrative way while also maintaining levels of philanthropic ability to support everybody in the community and not just the people who are creating it. So what I am going to present is going to be, some of it's going to be a little bit over some people's heads. So I'm going to ask that you just keep any level of predisposition to a minimum and just kind of run with me as best as I can to present this to you within 8 minutes, and just really give you a kind of overview of the arches of all of what has been kind of channeled to me over the past 5 years. So, and the presentation is also a pitch deck that I created for a startup company. So it's still within the same formula. So I didn't get to edit it so much to reflect the unified planet and the planetary commons, but just work with it as we go through it. So let's see, let me go share. Okay, so probably about back in October, I started coming to this idea of that we needed to start a company that can really help bring a lot more of sound healing products to the market that are a little bit more feasible within the current marketplace, because a lot of stuff is either just incredibly too expensive or the quality is just really not that great. And so the approach for it at the time was to really use sound meditation tools as a way to address mental health, because that's one of the most rising challenges that our kind of global economies are seeing right now. And so, in the US alone, 1 in 5 people are experiencing some type of mental illness. That being said, it's costing us a lot of money in terms of what we're losing in earnings. And then the other alternatives when it comes to mental illness, it can be like incredibly costly for most people. It's incredibly ineffective, because if it was effective, then we wouldn't have a lot of the issues that we have. And then you have all these like serious side effects, which are even worse than, like just kind of like dealing with the issues themselves. So the solution at the time was to essentially bring sound as medicine, and really provide this as an opportunity for most people to kind of have something else as an alternative to kind of Western medicine. So one of the solutions that I was able to find and figure out was to be able to create all of these products that specifically, as many of us know who are sound practitioners, and for those of us who aren't, it can be, gongs, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls. And one of the particular focuses was to create crystal bowls, because a lot of what's on the market right now is either incredibly expensive or is incredibly just not that great of quality. And one of the particular instruments I have that I've been distributing through a company in Nebraska is essentially a polished crystal bowl. If anybody is not familiar with a normal frosted crystal bowl, it basically feels like sandpaper on the outside. And if you polish it, it really adds just this incredible quality to the instrument that makes it way more impactful. It really expands the longevity of the item too, because the more that you, as we all know, the more that you use sandpaper, the more that the sandpaper degrades. And that's basically the way the material on the outside of a crystal bowl is. And so, its shelf life is incredibly challenging over the course of, 2 to 5 years, depending on how often you use it. So kind of my solution to figuring it out, because that particular instrument is really costly right now, and that it can cost anywhere from $700 to $1,000 just for a polished crystal bowl. And I was able to figure out almost a robotic process to be able to polish the instruments down to really reduce the manufacturing costs, because a lot of the polishing right now is basically done by hand. And so that being said, this is just a little bit of research of what's been done in the field over the past, give or take, about 30 years. I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call who could add to this list. This was me, and the founding team at the time was myself and my best friend Ava. Obviously, more people on this call would be included in that. And then through some of my research, unfortunately, within the sound healing market, there's just not a lot of data around how much the actual global economy of sound healing is worth. But through a little bit of my research, out of hashtags alone on Instagram, there were over 1.3 million hashtags that are all sound healing related as of, I think, like December. And then you know, by my estimates, as I was doing a lot of my financials, the sound healing market has got to be at least approximately anywhere from 80 million to like $200 million worth in terms of all the companies that actually serve the global market. And by my estimate, by 2030, it's going to at least jump over to like well over $500 million. And that's like kind of being, that's being kind of scarce on that. So, so the way to create kind of a company that can provide things within the market that either don't exist right now or need to be improved on. One are the healing instruments that are a lot cheaper. Facilitator training programs, which I know kind of already pre-exist, but the add-on to that is that we would be creating kind of self-practice in the same way that a lot of yoga training programs, instead of it just teaching you how to do yoga for a facilitation and for groups, you actually know how to do it for yourself at home. This is one thing that I've identified within the sound healing market that doesn't really exist. And it's really kind of underfunded in actually having people who have real experience being able to bring about like the mental, the emotional, and the physical way that sound interacts with your body and how you can use that as the meditation, because sound generally right now is seen as an additive to meditation. It's not seen as the main focus. Combined with that, we would create a subscription video content model where you basically get to kind of get access to all of the various ways to play crystal bowls, chimes, you know, and like and do all of the, and like play gongs and all this kind of other stuff. One of the other things that is currently lacking within the model is that a lot of crystal bowl companies don't provide financing options. So, you know, you can't just put it on your credit card and pay it down the line. Additionally to that, there is basically no insurance coverage that is covered through any crystal bowl company either. So there's basically no Apple Care of sound healing. And so being able to provide these opportunities for the community, I think will kind of be able to give it a little bit more of a mass scale. And so the aspects of the first phase of how we can kind of implement this would also be adopting a similar model to kind of Tom's Shoes. And if everybody isn't familiar with Tom's Shoes, the way that their business model works is that for every pair of shoes that are purchased, you know, they donate a pair of shoes to somebody else. Hey, TT, I'm giving a presentation right now. Sorry.
Old school kettle, go Shane.
I know. Sorry about that. And so, given that model, we would be able to provide these kind of donation-based bowls to a lot of the underserved areas within target sectors, specifically like, you know, high-stress corporations, like military bases, you know, for our veterans, hospitals, the Veterans Affair, you know, frontline workers, especially now in the COVID pandemic. You know, a lot of people who are at the front line really need this level of support. And then especially within educational and academic centers, from universities, schools, you know, like name it, you know, kids need it as well. Like if anything, the parents need it and the teachers need it just as much. So, and then being able to also focus on like domestic abuse shelters and rehab centers as well, you know, to help kind of wean people off drug addiction, drug abuse. And then also, you know, especially now in San Francisco too, that there's a lot of work being done with MAPS and, you know, psychedelic research and psychedelic assisted programs to help, you know, release trauma and move through a lot of that kind of stuff. So this is the aspects of how the revenue funnels work. So basically you have, you know, your experiences, which, you know, will basically generate leads, which then generate consumers to come and either, you know, sign up for classes, you know, and all that kind of stuff, or buy instruments as well. So, and then, you know, so then you work within the product funnel, which the customers would come in, they purchase the products, and then, you know, if they want insurance for the products, that works as well. It works the same way with the financing. If a person is coming for self-care, they, you know, the customer comes in, they'll look at the options of what they have. They'll either Part of the funnel for self-care too is like basically every single time that you buy a bowl or any customer buys a bowl, they'll get access to 3 free videos of how to do the self-practice, just in the same way that, you know, you have to be taught form, like whether it's yoga, personal training, you need to be taught form so that you know how to develop the practice for yourself. And then the kind of the upsell on it is the subscription models of all the kind of like the deeper trainings and all that kind of stuff. Then on top of that, we'll have our training courses for facilitator programs, which will ultimately lead us to being able to kind of hire you on as an ambassador, because the more that you share your practice with the world, the more that you're going to connect other people, which then is going to bring that energy back to us, which then, you know, only creates a biofeedback loop and a reciprocation process going back into the community. And then one particular funnel I was able to identify was also an upgrade service. So just in the way that we would use the robotic automation process to polish the crystal bowls, all of the crystal bowls that exist on the market right now, in terms of the frosted ones, we would create a service out of that, and we would be the only ones that do that, where you can send us your crystal bowl and we can polish it for you. And then not only does that increase the quality of it, but it also increases the longevity of it, because now no longer will it degrade, and you can actually pass it on to your forebears and to your children and to your progeny. And you can like pass it down in terms of the reverence and the ancient lineage of being able to create the story of where this energy comes from. And so these are the projections within the first year. Sorry for the way the program kind of did the scripts is a little bit tough, but essentially, you know, the healing instruments are going to increase every, give or take, about 3 to 6 months. As well as the more that the instruments are sold, the more that video subscriptions and facilitating is going to increase. And then the go-to market plan is essentially, you know, word of mouth, essentially working within the same framework of what we've done, as all sound healers have done, you know, as entrepreneurs, you know, between word of mouth, doing monthly features, you know, trade shows, festivals, events, you know, it's kind of all the same, very similar marketing model. The only beauty of what we can do is that we can be able to provide it at a relatively lower cost, and then we'll be able to put it in front of a lot more different people. The competitive advantage specifically is the financing and insurance coverage. The robotic automation also reduces the labor cost of how the Sound Technology Guild can make this a sustainable model as well as a thrivable model, and that it's not just about kind of like, you know, cutting corners. It's actually about improving the pre-existing market and really adding more quality to it. And then, you know, the training programs are essentially going to be coming from people who are like very devout and really experienced in their fields. And then the other aspect of this to promote more of these products is that, you know, like a lot of CDs, MP3s, like the apps, you know, like Calm and all this kind of stuff. Granted, what they do is great, but nothing beats the real experience in that regard. So this is just kind of a graph of the competition of what everybody kind of offers that I was able to kind of piece together, you know, and like the two kind of leading competitors within the market right now are Crystal Tones and Silver Sky, and I'm friends with both of them. So, you know, like this isn't like meant to kind of like underscore what they've done or to talk shit about them. It's more so of just to kind of evolve the process of what they have foundationally put into motion over the past like 20 years, 20 or 30 years that they all have been in business. So, you know, why, I don't want to say we're better, but why we can provide a better opportunity. One is, you know, in terms of myself, I've played thousands of shows. I've traveled all over the world doing these events. I've done almost like 500K worth of my own sales over the past 5 years just by word of mouth alone. So if I actually had a marketing campaign, marketing budget, you know, a full-fledged team like taking care of things on the back end for me, you know, that could easily be a lot more in terms of that. So, and then, you know, being able to initiate a lot more ambassadors within this program could also support the Sound Alliance, the Unified Planet, the Planetary Commons, and then which will ultimately serve the community in a greater way too. And then, so that being said,
Shane, you're gonna need to do this one quickly. You're nailing it, but
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of information. I'm trying to pack it all in, so I'll move through these real fast.
You got 1 minute.
Yeah, it's fine. So essentially, what Sound Helix will be, because Sound Helix is the kind of nexus point of how it can fund all of the next phases of projects. The next phases of projects essentially are going to be creating Fractal Robotics, which is a self-playing automated crystal bowl, which can then be distributed to every aspect of every industry within every sector. The applications of it are profoundly expansive, and the way that they can kind of integrate in so many different fields is kind of, I could spend a whole nother 15 minutes speaking to it. So phase 2 would essentially be creating the Fractal Robotics company through after Sound Helix is funded. And then phase 3 is essentially to create a mobile unit, sound healing art car, which if anybody hasn't been at Burning Man.
And then something a little bit warmer for tonight.
So basically Shamanka would be kind of the mobile unit of the kind of granddaddy version of having a full-on platform experience where you have like the best sound system, you have like, you know, a unit, a kind of train that goes around not only the country, but can go around the world, providing the kind of soundscape experiences, not only from the reverent side of what sound healing can provide, but also in terms of like the play side of what music brings on and DJs and so forth and so on. This particular art car is the Mayan Warrior, which is one of the best art cars on the playa at Burning Man. So this is just kind of as a slight visual interpretation. And then ultimately what it spans into is into the phase 4 of the process, which is the Helix Temple, which essentially becomes the grounded network of the facilities that you can franchise all over the planet that begin to distribute more and more of these opportunities that really bring together, you know, consciousness, spirituality, technology, and well-being, and can create a greater opportunity for changing the holistic healthcare model and shifting people out of the sick care model that is currently, you know, going on in our system. And then this is basically the timeline. So, you know, phase 1 for Sound Helix would basically be between the end of this year to the end of next year. Fractal Robotics would follow the following year. Phase 3 would be the Shamanka art car in 2022. That'll take roughly about 6 months to create. And probably while that happens, I don't know why it didn't port over, but, and then phase 4 would be roughly around in the same time period.
Jane, we would definitely share these slides. Do you want to just wrap up there?
Yeah, that's actually it. That's the end of it. And then the last one is essentially the seed. The seed for the investment for Sound Helix is, by my estimate, is roughly around 250,000, just to get all the pieces together in terms of the products, the marketing campaign, and getting some of the robotic arms to start polishing crystal bowls. So.
Amazing. Nice. Guys, Shane, you're on, like, I feel like that kettle was boiling for you.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh God, this is like a extroverted like feeling of being under the pressure cooker.
You mean the unified planet's going to be helping build pyramids for the Planetary Commons?
Essentially, yes.
Shane, thank you so much. There's so much here, and just to kind of illustrate how Unified Planet is kind of like an accelerator for the Planetary Commons. What we will do is, as we work with Shane to go through into harvest stage, everybody that has participated in this game is part of co-creating that success. And so we will continue to kind of accelerate and incubate Sound Helix. And the intention here is just like kind of bringing the concept of tithing into the commons. 10% of anything that's raised through the Unified Planet and revenue through the Unified Planet and the one-for-one model goes back into the commons pool. And it's like through that everybody that's been part of laying seeds together for the projects that go to market share in the harvest. So Shane, thank you so much for this. You're just crushing it. So good. And related to this, before we move on to the Sound Portal Guild, Amanda would love for you to share that cultural performance layer on top and just show how the Sound Technology Guild is also already co-creating projects together where 1 + 1 = 11, not 2.
Thank you. Can everyone hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Can I ask everyone who's got their microphones to please mute them? Just because I'm going to try and be super fast. We can still take 8 minutes. Lucian? Okay, great.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We're starting the timer.
We won't have a lot of time for discussion. Unless people want to stay on longer, we can. But yeah, just try to cap it at 8.
Okay, great. Okay, so first I'll say you guys heard some music this morning. Thank you so much for listening. I did discover that it didn't come out stereo. And so whenever I talk about the music or the kind of experience design, I'd love to be able to perform again for some reason on this Zoom setting, like it's stereo in my headphones, but not on your side, is what I learned. So it's a big part of what I'll talk about in a second. Having the spatialization, like 3D experience is like a huge part of what I do. So anyway, I'm glad it was maybe stereo for some people. Okay, cool. So we are gonna, this is Jonathan Schooler, he's my partner, and we're gonna go back and forth and really quickly go through these slides. And I'm gonna go ahead and share, and we'll just touch on each of them, and happy to send you so you could look into greater detail and read fully on later. But we'll just wanna give you this overview of what we've been doing collaboration-wise. He has research labs that study consciousness and creativity and meta-awareness and a lot of things that are really fundamental to sort of integrate into immersive sound experiences that I've been designing. And so we'll sort of talk about research, and we'll talk about the experience design and how we're thinking of developing experiences that would be able to be played in a venue where live crystal bowls or assorted live sound healing instruments can be accompanying it, and we can really distribute the transformative experiences worldwide. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see the screen? Okay, so synesthetics is a placeholder title to really just describe an initial prototype of this experience and kind of what you guys heard today. To iteratively refine an approach for creating transcendental musical experiences that enable mutually rewarding transformational experiences to reveal new dimensions of awareness and foster openness to experience, mindfulness, and reconnecting with childlike wonder. So where there's a lot of attention in the Sound Alliance to really appeal to people who are suffering from mental health issues or having maybe even some physiological situations, our approach is really like for well-being. Overall, increasing openness to experience and mindfulness just increases the quality of life in a variety of ways. And so we're wanting to design experiences that integrate neuroscience with sounds of nature and crystal bowls and gongs. And so here's a little bit more about that. So sounds of nature can evoke emotions and impressions, and elemental sounds of nature can evoke primitive survival instincts. So I've collaborated on a project before with Paul Ekman, who his daughter and him worked with the Dalai Lama and created the Atlas of Emotions, which I was working with the science of emotions and really understanding what is the evolutionary process that our body has gone through to be able to feel emotions. How does the body and mind connect and relate to each other? And basically wanting to design experiences with the proper instruments that can cause and create emotional catharsis and also increase emotional awareness. And so crystal bowls and gongs, for a lot of us, have a pretty visceral experience, and did some research, and they produce monophonic and multiphonic amplification of harmonic overtones, creating uniquely pure, powerful tones that subjectively report, producing physiological and psychological beneficial effects. Also brainwave entrainment, which is a huge part of how we want to be designing music, is to really bring shared groups or individuals into a slower brainwave state that allows them to do a lot of deep or whatever shifting into better, higher emotional states. Okay, so we took the crystal bowl, some crystal bowls that Shane brought from LA to the Santa Barbara Center for Art, Science, and Technology, and Alan Macy did a Fourier transform, which is taking a 3D image of the crystal bowls. And you can see that there's this incredible gradual increase of lines going upwards and downwards, and that represents the overtones. And we predict that if you were to compare this image of a 3D capture of the crystal bowls going into resonance, where you see where the sound wave goes up and down, that is intermodulation. That's where there's two different pitches that are essentially creating an intermodulation, which causes your brain to go into slower brainwave states, potentially. But we have all this research to do, and basically, like, we've got the labs to do it at the Center for Art, Science, and Technology, and we have the research labs in order to, like, understand if it actually is affecting physiology and psychology better than if it was just through a recorded sound. If it was just coming through speakers, what is the difference between that and the live crystal bowls? Here's just an example of some of the different science that we're weaving into the experience design for cultivating open mindfulness. And we only have like 1 minute and 48 seconds left, so you guys are gonna just enjoy reading this later. But I wanna also give Jonathan a chance to talk a little bit. We're also gonna be combining those different scientific frameworks with ceremonial containers. Here's just a little history of the different ancient traditions from the East, West, and the Americas, and wanting to really create experiences that can pull from different ones, make different combinations, and really explore and iterate and prototype completely new experiences. These are psychoacoustic effects that we've come across that are actually working in different settings: binaural beats, EMDR, ASMR, brainwave entrainment. So just really going deeper on that. Here there's the different brainwave states. This is an example of 3 immersive experiences that could be prototyped and iterated with a group of people. Since the vocal part at least is improvisational, and the frameworks and containers are experimental and weaving together the work of therapists and sound healers and musicians and scientists and robotics engineers and multi-sensor technology developers, and basically creating a synesthetic compositional tool. So I'm using my own synesthesia to design sound in 3D space with this container that we sort of go on journeys with. And the Aesculapian sound bath is the term I'm using to describe one where we say combine science on the 3 evolutionary layers of the brain with the 7 Hindu chakra systems. And we actually open up our chakras with an understanding of like what that could mean in the scientific space. And then Ellipsis, which is our just a placeholder title for something that's more of an emotional catharsis. And then Omniverse, which is really doing what has never been done before when it comes to 3D holographic sound. And so I know there's people on this team who are leaders in holographic sound. There's amazing things that we could do, combining, say, the different realms of consciousness, the Bardo, a concept called the 3 dimensions of time. Anyway, our time is up. Speaking of time.
Amanda, you're so amazing. This deck I want to really digest, and what you're describing here with the Omniverse, that we can prototype this as through the Unified Planet, through scavenger hunts, immersive theater, the Omniverse 8-day festival we're going to be doing during Burning Man. And so, speaking of time, Jonathan, do you want to just
I'll just play these in the background while Jonathan talks.
Yeah, I'll just say that one of the things that we've been thinking about is a concept that we've been calling open mindfulness. And the idea is that we're fostering two personality traits, two qualities, which in combination may be really, really powerful. On the one hand, we're fostering openness to experience, which is like everybody at Burning Man is selling an openness to experience, and the rest of the world could use a lot more openness to experience. But at the same time, there are limits to openness to experience. You know, riding around a motorcycle without a helmet on is, you know, you're showing openness to experience, but it's also reckless. You need to be able to check in and be discerning. And so mindfulness is sort of the other part. And the idea is that these experiences may be able to simultaneously foster both openness, because they're creating new, Amanda takes you to places and Shane to places your mind doesn't usually go. And at the same time, you can ground yourself in mindfulness with the meditative format that it provides. So we think it's really an amazing way to cultivate these two qualities. And through open mindfulness, openness to experience is childlike wonder. So it also enables people to maintain a youthful vitality that we think could be of great help, both to people who are ailing, but also to people who think of themselves as well and just want to reach their true potential.
Wow, yeah, so, and here is an example of the project I did where I programmed different sounds connected to my body, so that if I brought in the sound of a wave, I could lift it up and turn it into raining down. So like actually touching nature and being able to program birds merging with the sound of the human voice, and you know, the sound of like frogs turning into a atomized sound and texture, and you just experience the essence washing through you of the vocalization of these diverse species, is the concept behind this. Here is a list of the collaborators, and this is basically the last sort of couple slides. Shane Thunder, who would be the live performance collaborator for recorded Crystal Bowl and sound albums, and Crystal Bowl research, experience design, and product development of the instruments. And Jonathan Schooler, the Meta Lab, they have a whole team, squads upon squads of people researching consciousness. And there's like basically infinite things there's a lot of things that we could do to really go deep on the research and have a credible foundation for like distributing this sound healing work to the world. And then V.S. Ramachandran, who's the world expert on synesthesia, creativity, mirror therapy, and neurons. Like, he's a magician. He's like an established magician of a sort of like bridging between these ancient traditions and modern science and developing tools. Eric Oberthaler, who you guys, I'm so honored to be able to introduce you to each other today, who's been just synchronistically designing ways to do multiple dimensions of atmospheres sort of layered onto each other in a musical experience upon ritual containers that actually work. And then Alan Macy, who's Santa Barbara for Art, Science, and Technology, who's got all the labs that we really need to be able to develop all the technologies. He is the go-to person in the world for developing technologies for labs and also art and science. And then Mikey Siegel from Group Flow and Consciousness Hackers is down to help us in any way that we need. Alex Stahl, he did the Pixar sound design. He can source code anything. So we really have like the people, and we need more. Like, we still need much more help. And like, you know, these are just some superheroes, I guess, so far. And you guys are all superheroes to me. And I'm really excited for like what the long-term deliverables could be as far as creating sound albums that could be played in the venues across the world with the self-playing crystal bowls. And that, yeah, go ahead.
Amanda, no, you're the superhero here, and you and Jonathan, and this is just like, wow, just hat tip. This is so incredible, and would love to digest this deck fully. And so if you can share it with me, I'll share it with everyone, or share it in the WhatsApp, or share it with everyone as well. I'm sure everyone's going to be fascinated by this, really at the crest of the wave of sound. So thank you. And it's a tidal wave, you know, and I think once we start stacking all these things together, where we have ritual space, we've got tools like self-playing bowls, we've got distribution channels like 1-for-1 model going into airports and schools, and partnering with MAPS on PTSD and partnering with the VA. And there's all sorts of different channels for us to stack all these solutions into the planetary commons to ultimately walk each other home. So thank you. And we're happy to stay on. What I want to do is, for those that can't, let's jump straight into Serena and Emil and the Sound Portal Guild. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Oh, yes. I'm just going to exit the share screen. Hold on. Okay.
Nailed
Right.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm beyond stunned right now of the expansive flowing energy that is happening within and around this community. So me and Serena, you want to give a little wave real quick? We have been doing the Sound Portals Guild, and I'm going to share my screen and what we've. So, can you all see that? Someone give me a yes. Say a yes.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. This is also first time using the share screen option. So our first phase summary is, our general summary is to create mobile units and permanent spaces in open or semi-open areas to introduce people to the power and impact sound can have for health and well-being. We basically have come into two major parts. One is creating mobile units that can bring experiences to public parks, hospitals, schools, maybe even delinquency centers, and really expose people on a wider scale to the power of sound for healing, health, and well-being. The other side of this is creating sound playgrounds or permanent installations, particularly in parks, but could also be in the other places stated, where people can go and interact with sound through instruments, large instruments that are built permanently into the place. And the intention is for them to be keyed together, tuned together, so that groups or strangers can connect and play, and thus have a interactive, expansive sense of what it's like to drop into resonance together easily and simply. So our mission statement is to awaken the culture on a larger scale to the benefits of sound as a way to unblock new feelings or sensations in the physical, mental, and emotional levels of consciousness, and to facilitate these experiences in a grounded way by people who have been sharing sound for a long time and educate in sound for health and personal exploration. Our 4 key values are listening or receiving. So for people to listen or receive vibrations to improve health and well-being, experience, to have profound experiences with sound that can expand one's concept of, unfinished sentence there, of what is possible for them or what is possible in this reality right now. And play, introducing the quality of play in connection to sound and how that opens people up to a new dimension of themselves. This feels especially relevant with bringing the instruments into spaces that have people that haven't accessed these kinds of tools before or played with them much. And to inform, which is a common theme because the current culture is still very hasn't integrated the idea of sound as a healing practice beyond what is almost considered pseudoscience. And we know from experience and the huge energy that has come together through this group and community, and for all of us that have been practicing sound for 5 years, 10 years, decades, or lifetimes, that there are very grounded ways to relate this to people. and having that information be available through these mobile units, and also on information about public art or installations. So some of our potential collaborators and inspiration are, I thought of William Close and the Earth Harp, if anyone has heard of that. It's a type of structure. The Earth Harp is a structure of long strings, sometimes between buildings or trees, or connected in long diagonals that literally take the intervals in large spaces and turn them into musical notes. And the player can then rub these strings with their hands in a glove and exemplify how there is sound and music in the natural intervals around us. We also thought about a recent exhibit, or in the last few years, at MoMA, where singing bowls were placed inside water, and they very slowly, in a basin of water, and they very slowly floated and bounced around, occasionally making beautiful tones and chords and intervals. We envision these permanent spaces being something that can be taken to San Francisco City and city councils worldwide as something that is of huge benefit into the commons and adds value to the common people and everyone that is open and wants to play. So our phase one right now is to model and create first a mobile unit that can be used for publicity regarding the permanent spaces, and a fleet of mobile units in the future that have different themes. Some can take people inside to have a more intimate and more controlled experience where sound is cut off from the outside, and could also be targeted at specific groups such as staff and nurses. We had a great idea from Mark about coming to parking outside hospitals or near hospitals and bringing nurses or staff that are finishing their shifts either in the early morning or late evening to give them an experience of de-stressing. And also we were thinking to bring, kind of with a sort of using the flash mob concept, but I think of it more like a rapid creation of sound baths in a public space to introduce people to what is happening, and also to get footage and interviews to bring more publicity of people that I know that when you bring sound healing into a space and no one has experienced it before, there's a lot of ecstatic reflections. And those ecstatic reflections are one way that we can really expand this group and expand all of the Sound for Health groups and reach more of a wider audience and bring this more into the Planetary Commons. So at the moment, we are brainstorming more ideas for public installations. Another idea I've been playing with for a while is having large sets of wind chimes, maybe 10 or 20 of them that are all keyed together. And when you set them up in different places, they basically play the sound of the wind in an area. So this same installation could be put in different places and play the sound of nature for those different areas. Also beginning with just a couple instruments that are keyed together, and then occasionally that are grounded in a playground, and then eventually turning that into a whole city block, possibly full of instruments that are in different groups or sets that people can come and really drop easily into an ecstatic space of musical sharing. This is where we are at right now, and for the Blossom phase, we're getting our deck much more fully stacked. And it's really exciting. And after seeing all these other presentations more clearly, and I'm sure Serena and the rest of our group, Dominic, Lucinda, Mark, and a few others, we can see how to collaborate and integrate what we're doing as a way to support everyone in the Sound for Health community, and bring this into something that becomes maybe the primary way to create non-invasive healing states and also personal expansion of creativity and consciousness. So
Emil, I'm gonna
thank you
so
please.
much, Emil, for explaining where we're at. I wanted to take a couple minutes to just kind of synthesize all the different ideas that came through this, and it actually morphing into what Shane had presented with Shamanka. But many of us, I think there was 3 out of 5 people in this group, had designs, physical designs made for mobile units. And each of the designs had different elements to it. Some were 3D printed, some were a combination of technology using light and screens as a way to transmit sound therapies and therapeutics. And also some were about, unpacking something and creating almost like a moving circus or moving theatrical production with the mobile unit serving as a way to incorporate and expose what this systems change and unified planet really stands for. So everyone coming together with this ideas, we actually didn't settle on our own collective prototype as yet, but through the birth of this and through the collaboration, we were able to look at 2 different ways of using mobile units that we have on hand to start testing and actually create a biofeedback loop. Lucien generously offered his Pegasus, which is a smaller mobile unit and a way for us to sort of play with what would work and what wouldn't. And also Mark, who unfortunately is not on this call today, he's driving down, also has a larger Airstream where things could be a little bit more roomy in terms of the amount of instruments we could fit and also built-in installations. There was also a lot of talk around the content and the space dictating the content and the content dictating the space, and where we wanted to start with our next process in terms of our Sprout round is actually laying out the different use cases that we came up with and seeing what that content would go to. And one of the use cases is also to further the message of the system change, which I really want to highlight that Unified Planet is is already kind of exposing our networks to, which is this idea that there is a regenerative process that we can all take part in that's creating a new economical structure. And these portals and these the Sound to the Commons could be also a place where someone could check in with their involvement with the Unified Planet in some way and actually immerse themselves in the different games that are going on. So with the food being one of them and the other 23 subjects that I think Lucien is bringing up into the forefront. So yeah, I wanted to synthesize because we thought about creating a deck and sharing all these different examples of the different buses and mobile units, but we think that it would be more effective to actually play with a mobile unit physically and see what happens and involve people that way. And also part of our exploration and process of inquiry was to do a little bit of a social distance meetup outside, outdoors, and see what happened when we actually played together as a group of sound healers and therapists that hadn't collaborated before. And I have to say that we dropped in and it was just amazing. We didn't share why we were sound healers or all of the stuff that we do in terms of work now, but we decided to share how we came into sound as a therapeutic practice. And we found many different common themes. And I think that was a very beautiful way to end this last week of synthesizing all these ideas that came out of the process of a mobile bus being alive. I just want to leave any room for Lucinda, Mark, Dominic to chime in with anything that they experienced through this week of of really having so many ideas and trying to come up with what we should start with first.
Yeah, I'm happy to add. Thank you so much, both of you. I felt that was so well articulated and distilled the ideas we're having. Just by nature of this project, we went in many, many, many different directions. So there's so many beautiful possibilities for this. And it wasn't just how we would have the structures, this sort of internal, external field, how we would incorporate COVID into that, not knowing what the future holds in terms of how the proximity that we can have people within this. So we were sort of gravitating towards the outdoors as an easier setup, and then looking at the container, but we also look carefully at who we want to reach with this, which is also crucial, and where we can take this. So just this, I think someone was talking about the ice cream van concept. we hear the ice cream van coming and the music's playing and everyone gets really excited. That sort of feeling with sound and what's going to happen next. And just one other thing we were really looking at, I think you guys covered it so well, is the container we hold all of this in, which is really, it's about the reverence of what it is we are bringing out there. So, you know, it's about education, it's about holding the space, it's about how we take people in, how we bring people out. And another big part of it that came up is always encouraging people to use their own voice, to hum, to buy a bowl, you know, out there concept. Hey, you can order one. And so it's really empowering people to say this, you don't need us to have this. This is something you can create immediately with your voice, with your body, anything. And if you want to, we can sort of give you more advice and education around taking this to the next steps. You know, I think it's always, and a lot of us always do that, trying to encourage people to come into this to themselves and create sound for themselves. So just wanted to add that part, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dom, and just deep bow and gratitude to Serena and Emil for your leadership and stewardship here. Yeah. It was it's just such a delight to be part of this kind of almost localized guild. Most of us are local, and to know that you were jamming together last night, it's awesome. It's the birthing of something amazing. And you know, I'm delighted. It was very easy for me because you know, I accept stars. I've got this beautiful trailer that's kind of, it's called Pegasus, and it's the first, it's towed behind a Tesla, a time-traveling Tesla called TARDIS, if anyone likes Doctor Who. And it's actually it's the world's first road-legal self-driving RV. And I could just picture Pegasus being transformed into the kind of prototype portal, and going to spots around San Francisco and bringing so much joy to so many families and so many people, and bringing sound as a community building technology that it is. Beautiful. Just this morning, we just got offered a tuk-tuk that can be part of our fleet of portals as well, like a legit tuk-tuk that can go around the city, and we can put some speakers and a little generator on it and have like another sound portal. But
are tuk-tuks actually street legal here?
Was that Shane or Jonathan?
No, that was me. Are tuk-tuks actually street legal in America?
Yeah, that's street legal, and you don't even need insurance. It runs less. It goes under 35 miles an hour, so it's kind of a bike.
Yeah, it's Bobby here. Our friends used to head up Alter Eco Chocolate, and that was one of their kind of marketing tools. So we've been driving their tuk-tuk around for years.
Yeah, I'm so excited to pick up my daughter in the tuk-tuk, you know.
Kids love them, of course. Adults love them.
Yeah, so that happened today. But we really are, you know, I think this is just a point to just reflect on where we are right now in the kind of flow of what's emerging. Does everyone feel it? you know, this like beautiful container for the commons and how people are getting engaged. I mean, I could just do a little summary and let's get back to sound as we wrap up for any other thoughts. But just to highlight, this is week 2 of sound, week 1 of food. And just to give some synthesis there, Food Justice has created a 1-for-1 model that's basically creating a system to partner regenerative farms with city communities to create like a circular economy around organic, fresh farm, like reimagining the CSA box for people playing the game. There's a food genome project, which is food, seed, and soil banking. It's looking at adaptive farming, how we can work with farmers to have like real-time supply chain infrastructure, like real-time drones supporting best stewardship of their land, smart contracts ordering food so that they are growing based on demand rather than based on crazy subsidies, which just pollutes the planet. Food culture is all about like the enchantment of food, and this is this like gastronomy movement, a movement that's already spreading around the world around like food education and kind of like connecting into food reverence, which is the next one, where we're creating a cards deck for food reference called Mindful Meals, which will bring people through. It's like the Unified Planet Mindful Meals game, and it's going to be almost like a tarot deck that will take people through a journey as they break bread together, to connect them with the story of the farmers, the story of the land, the story of the food, the story of remembering who we are and what we're here to do. And so that's like a really cool project. Food waste is looking at all aspects of the distribution and logistics, looking at soil and where that contributes. Composting, like biodynamic composters, applying technology there. There's then food technology, which is partnering with multiple companies, including the International Space Station, Planet Labs, Terramera, Versus, the geospatial company, to come up with kind of like the best food technologies for the commons available to farmers all around the world. The next one is food and land stewardship. And this is all around creating a framework to connect land into the commons, looking at production and distribution, looking at this project called the 1001 Hectares project to connect regenerative farms all around the world, the Agrarian Trust Society, which is creating scalable community land trusts. So this is just all out of week 1. And then finally, community regenerative development. This is looking at apprenticeships around food and farming and distribution of food. It's looking at like cradle to cradle infrastructure, farm to fork, structures here that are like just ready. You know, the Romans talked about bread and games, and imagine if everybody playing the game could access a circular economy where they would get their food based on their playing of the game. They would get their food delivered, and they need to pass the next challenge to get the next box of food, kind of thing. There's so many things we can stack on here together that include sound portals, and hopefully this is just week 2, but we can see how creating 26 pillars of a new society a year will rapidly like stack on top of all these different projects. Because just as we've seen, the Unified Planet Sound Alliance, the Sound Technology Guild, and the Sound Portal Guild are all intersecting and all complementary. And so our intention is, as we go through this, to kind of constantly keep an eye out for where we can be part of the same team, where the band is getting back together, where we can deliver this better story, which is all about what the game is. The rule number 2, write a better story, right? So I just wanted to open up space, and you know, I feel that this is the kind of culmination of like when the rainbow goes into the white light of the prism. this is like the culmination of many lives, you know, dojo, that we're all feeling kind of that we've been prepared for this moment, and that there's a new energy coming in here right now that is not a company, it's not a foundation, it's not a government, it's something different that is reimagining this ancient future notion of the commons. So I just want a deep bound thank you to everybody that's continued to play the game, and open this up. I know we capped this at 12:30 and we're over, but we've always got time to play with you. Thank you so much, Serena and Emil, for your presentation. Everyone just did amazing. Yeah, Andrea Khan is a total brother of mine. Yeah, and someone that's absolutely going to be feeding, Terramera will be feeding 1 billion people by 2030, if not before.
Yeah.
Without that, they've raised over $100 million and just absolutely killing it. We need to reframe that word.
Living it. They're living it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So, any comments? Any comments while we're all together? Yeah. Thank you to all the presenters.
I feel so saturated and full. It's like there's so much to say and nothing right now. just take in, digest, and know that and just knowingness of next phases to come. That's my piece.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bobby. We haven't heard from you today, so go
No,
ahead.
because I haven't. So I've got a lot going on at the moment, and I haven't been able to continue playing during the week. But I just want to say I'm so excited to see this grounded into real outcome, and that's all I want to say. I'm just like, this feels really amazing, and we always knew it was going to be amazing, but just to actually see what's being produced is. Yeah, I'm really excited. So congratulations to all, and thank you for all your hard work. This is yeah, I'm excited, and that means that I'll do what I can to make all this come to light. So thank you so much, everybody.
We love you, Bobby. And as we go through into harvest stage, you know, it's an 8-week journey. We've got a week off, much needed. This was advised, Sarah, who's a very, very, very wise friend and close advisor and partner and co-founder of this game, as you all are, was like, don't you dare do a game every week. You're going to kill yourself. And
I could have told you that.
like, we're going to take one on every, you know, but so it feels really good to be doing like 1 week on, 1 week off, 6 hours of facilitation every day when we're on, and just building that conveyor belt. And what we're finding is we're just already there's so many requests for games. From we're doing one on land stewardship, we're going to do another one on psychedelics. We're doing, and there's different friends seeing what's being birthed with the game. And it's truly becoming something that is all of ours. You know, it's not a company. It's going to be a platform cooperative, and hopefully it will transform the way all of us will relate to wealth. So yeah, I'm so happy we started with sound, because it's going to be it really positions sound in its rightful place as like the beginning and the end of it all. Anyone else want to share? Otherwise, I have a surprise that I would like us all to close with.
No, well, one thing I want to say is thank you to you, Lucian, and the entire Savannah team. Yeah, I mean, I was saying that to the presenters and everyone that was part of, and is part of the Sound for Up game, etc. But I'm loving what you've created, and yeah, I'm in. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, honestly, when we embarked on this journey, it was with, the 3 words we repeat every day here is faith, trust, and love. And we didn't have a clue what we were creating. We just knew it was being created through us, and we were going to listen, and it was going to reveal itself. And sometimes, like, knowing that there's only one way, like you're walking a plank, and there's only one way to discover what this thing that wants to emerge is, and that's by letting it emerge, and not using your strategy mind, but using your FQ, your remembrance of the future, to remember how the story unfolds. And it's been revealing in the most elegant way. Each day has been new lessons of what this is, and it feels like this has been stuff that many of us have been thinking about for maybe lifetime. But yeah, thank you so much for that. And I'd love just to create space. David, Connie, anything, we'd love to hear your voices in this mix here, if there's anything you'd like to share. Danielle.
I would just like to share gratitude of, and I think other people share this as well, of maybe, there are so many similarities in the ideas and mission and why we're so driven to move sound in this direction and so profoundly, I think, that the last time I started to try to articulate this, I'm still filled with emotion with it, but it feels so expansive, that I don't feel alone anymore, that there's this collective, like we've come together and we have this similar mission and way of thinking, and really the action behind it to organize and feed into each other, that I'm just so appreciative of. And so thank you all for being here and co-collaborating and all the things.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
I feel like it's like Christmas Day, and yeah, I feel like a kid in this Christmas Day, but being an adult and all of that wonder and just so much gratitude. And what Danielle said, I don't feel alone anymore, but even more than that is one of the things that was talked about at one of the meetings, is about sometimes being in the relationship to sound and collaborating that is felt sometimes, I don't know, just competitive or isolating, and just bringing the vibrations of what all of this work is about, all here has just been absolutely healing and reparative. And just one more thing is, I think, Lucy, you spoke to this, is what I love most about sound is that it has me, or people, get in touch with, it's like just that knowing that higher vibration and following that, even sometimes when you're scared. And this is how this all got created. And I feel like that's how everybody led and came together with. And I'm just very, very grateful. And I'm so excited to see what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. David, Vaughan, anything you want to share in here? Brian? Soma?
I wanted to speak a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I mean, adding to everything we talked, instruments are amazing, but I really want to bring this highlight of this given instrument that we don't have to go purchase it anywhere. It's already given to us, to bring this highlight for people to use their own voice. It's amazing. This is something I wasn't really taught in school and anywhere, that my own voice actually can do so much magic for me. And it's a tool to change our consciousness and shift dimensions. Our own voice has been used only for language, which is a tool, but sound is not just language. It's very important for us to go into the sensation of sound and finding different ways of pleasure through sounds. And a little thing you guys talk about, ancient future. Ancient is future. I was raised in Iran. There's some temples that you actually stand in the middle. It's a hospital. You don't need anything else. Geometrically, it's been built in a way that you use your own voice. It hits it, it comes back, hits your meridian to heal your psyche. So these are the things, I mean, there's a lot that I can talk. I want to be time sensitive right now, but our own voice is something that it's so easy to provide for everybody. They don't need to go purchase any instruments. It's already there. It's already within them. We just have to bring this awareness that how to go to creativity and pleasure and sensation with it, not just language. And there's a lot more that I will probably participate in future and share more about how sound it's been for me, or how we can provide more and easier access for people out there.
Delighted to hear that. So thank you so much.
I can share a little bit.
Thank you, David. If you've got a video, that would be awesome, David.
Okay, cool.
Ocean of wisdom there in so many.
Cool. Over 20 years ago, I had a lot of really amazing ideas to change the world. And I went to a lot of the main people in the field, including Jeffrey Thompson, Jonathan Goldman, Tom Kenyon, and Joshua Leeds, who wrote one of the main books in the field. And the response I got was really negative, because a lot of these people that have been doing this for many, sometimes 30 or 40 years, they looked at me like, what, you're just a kid. And so it was like, it was really hard to make headway in the field. So what I did is I did a lot of studying, and now I've written the #1 selling book in the world in sound healing, right? And I'm finally getting respect. And it's really, really, I just want to really point out that there's a lot of people that have been doing this for as much as 40 or 50 years. And it's really important to really study and check out what's already out there so that you have a really good basis and can get more respect. And I only put this out there because I went through it myself, and it took me many years of being able to get respect in the field, right? And I mean, even so, there's a lot of people, I mean, I can mention a lot of names of people that have been around for a long time, and they are really careful to work with people that really have a good basis. So I think that's, it's important, and to get an education around it, because when it just really helps. That's my thing I wanted to say. In the meantime, I just love you all. I mean, it's beautiful what you're doing, and the intention.
We're doing it, David. We're doing it. You're part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Brand Wizard.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, I mean, I've got a lot going on. And the funding is now looking really good. I just talked to somebody today. We've got 24 business plans. I haven't really been able, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm like the top seller of sound healing CDs in the field right now. I mean, there's so much going on as far as the science and the details, as having been a physics major, that I'd love to, if anybody would like to contact me, I would love to go over some of the things that you've talked about, because I think I could really help kind of ground it out a little bit more on some of the projects. So it's really hard to, make comments like this, because I feel like I don't want to be coming from an ego or trying to sell my stuff. What really matters, and when I look at different projects, for me, what matters is how many people can we help on this planet? And so I'm always going through that filter of the project. How can you expand that project to help millions of people, way more people than you've ever thought? How can you even bring it into third world countries? How can how can you create consortiums of other groups? It's really tricky. I know all of the different associations on the planet for sound healing. I've had them at my conferences. I've had 9 conferences now. And it's really tricky. I mean, it's really tricky to go to Jonathan Goldman and try to collaborate with him, right?
This is exactly one of the things that's holding the planet back. Our intention is to look at ways that by bringing together all of these different pillars of society into the planetary commons, we can break this human tendency of siloing, which is ultimately holding the whole collective back. And we've been
well,
by it.
There's another component of honoring the elders, right? And learning from the people that have really done. I mean, there's people out there that have, Jeffrey Thompson's been doing research for over 40 years in detail. There's so many people that have been doing this forever. And I think it's really important to really look at what's out there. So, there's 2 ways to go. You can totally just blast forward, and that's really cool, and create new systems and everything, and that's very cool. But it's also, the other avenue is to synchronize with the people that are out there, so you can, move with that wisdom, move with that information forward, so we're not just starting over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, David, I would invite everybody here to feel into their role as co-founders of this game and co-creators, because we're not the experts in sound. We have deep appreciation and respect, but we're moving on to a new topic every 2 weeks. So for us, it's like, let's create the initial birthing energy. Let's create that moment of like spark, and like, let's let 1,000 flowers bloom. More specifically, let's make, 26 topics and see which ones move forward. And so from this point going forwards, we're here in service of what's already been formed. Brian needs to go, and I'm having I've recorded so much video on my laptop, the whole thing's crashing. Brian, if you, David, I would love to give you a call, and please know that deep bow of respect for you as an elder here, and your everything you're bringing to this circle. There's 2 things we want to close with. One is just a quick word from you, Brian, and then would love to invite a closing happy birthday. Stara has serendipitously joined us through the Facebook Live, and it's her birthday today. So I thought we could close with a welcome happy birthday to Stara after your final word, Brian. And thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lucien. I just wanted to say I was pretty bummed I missed this week. I had a lot going on with the family, but it's so interesting to tune into the call today. And there's just such a richness and an amazing just a momentum that's building that there's a part of me that doesn't want to miss a second of it, because this is so incredible and so beautiful what's happening here. So thank you, everyone, and I'm really excited to see what unfolds with all this, and I want to remain a part of it 100%. So thank you.
Delighted to have you, Brian. And Stara, do you want to just say, we'd love to hear your voice in this mix. Stara is a musician, a performer, a radio host, a game builder, and many other things. So happy birthday, Stara.
Thank you. I'm Star Being, and I'm hosting a radio show right now called Awaken and Arise that I'm turning into a podcast and a show. I'm also a mother of 5, and we've traveled the world schooling, and I'm just really grateful for kind of the new world that we're building, and like watching everything bloom and grow, and I just appreciate everything that everybody has shared today. And that song, that music, like sent chills up my whole body. It was so beautiful. So nice to meet everybody, and I'm so grateful to be having this moment with you all.
Great. Well, thank you. Let's take the last minute before 11:11 to close us off with a happy birthday to Stara. Thank you all so much for coming, and we're going to follow up by email today with the presentations, and we're going to connect again a week on Monday for the up game Blossom. So with that said, who would like to lead the happy birthday? My voice, Serena, you will follow you.
I'll lead.
Happy birthday, Stara.
Thank you.
I think this can be a collective happy birthday, so we can all sort of let the Zoom do its thing. And I'm also manifesting that we have the technology by this time next year where we could all jam and hear each other's voices together in collective vibration, because that's so cool. All right, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you, everyone. So many blessings for all of us on this beautiful new moon. May all of our seeds that we're planting right now grow into big, beautiful, strong redwoods. Redwood trees. Really strong and tall.
Yes.
Connecting all levels of all dimensions of reality.
Oh. Thank you. What a beautiful collective sprout. May this sprout be a redwood grove. Thank you so much, Stara, for those closing words. And you know, I'm big believers that we're here to be tree-shaped people. That what gives us strength to withstand storms is our roots entwined, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Thank you so much. Blessings to all. Thank you, Serena. Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you, Andrea. So wonderful. Have a great weekend, all.
And can you tell Joshua thank you from us?
I will do. He is on his way. It's Melissa's birthday. And he's on his way to Santa Barbara.
Today, it's Melissa's birthday.
His birthday on Monday. So he's on his
Beautiful.
way. Yeah.
Thank you, beautiful.
Mahalo, you rock.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Shane.